What if the happiest moments of your life were actually death traps? Tonight, we dive into the most disturbing discovery ever made by psychologists. A phenomenon that turns joy into a psychological prison. This isn't fiction. This isn't a metaphor. This is the documented case of Sarah Chen, a happiness researcher who stumbled upon something that should have never been found. By the end of this story, you'll question every moment of contentment you've ever experienced. Sarah Chen had dedicated her entire career to understanding human happiness. Her laboratory at the University of Portland was filled with sensors, brain scanners, and mood-tracking devices, all designed to capture the exact moment when sadness transforms into joy. But Sarah herself hadn't genuinely smiled in 3 years. The irony wasn't lost on her colleagues. Here was a woman who could measure dopamine levels to the nanogram, who could predict mood swings with 97% accuracy. Yet, she moved through her days like a ghost, haunting her own research. Her apartment was a sterile extension of her lab. White walls, minimal furniture, and absolutely no personal photographs. She had removed every trace of her former life, every reminder of the happiness she once knew. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday evening when Sarah was alone in the lab, testing a new neural feedback device. She had been monitoring her own brain patterns while reviewing footage of genuinely happy people. Children laughing at playgrounds, couples embracing after long separations, families reuniting. The device was designed to detect the precise neural signature of authentic joy, distinguishing it from forced smiles or temporary pleasure. That's when she noticed something impossible in the data. Every subject who had experienced what her algorithms classified as pure happiness, that rare, unfiltered moment of complete contentment, had disappeared from all follow-up studies. Not just dropped out, disappeared. As if they had never existed after that moment of perfect joy. Sarah's hands trembled as she cross-referenced missing person reports with her happiness data from the past 5 years. The correlation was undeniable. 47 people. All had experienced what her measurements showed as peak happiness moments. All had vanished within 72 hours of their last recorded session. The room's temperature seemed to drop as she made another discovery. Her own apartment's smart home system had been recording her daily activities, and according to the data, her bedroom door had been automatically locking itself every night for the past 3 years, but only on the nights when her biometric readings showed even the slightest uptick in contentment. As she sat there, staring at the impossible data, Sarah felt something she hadn't experienced in years. A tiny spark of excitement about her discovery. The corner of her mouth almost turned upward. The laboratory door clicked shut behind her. The electronic lock engaged with a soft beep. Sarah's initial panic gave way to scientific curiosity as she examined the locked laboratory door. The electronic keypad showed no error codes, no system malfunctions. It simply wouldn't respond to her access card or emergency codes. The building's security cameras had mysteriously stopped recording the moment she had felt that spark of excitement. She spent the next 4 hours analyzing every detail of her research, and the pattern became horrifyingly clear. The phenomenon wasn't random. It was intelligent, selective, and had been operating for decades. Her database searches revealed historical cases dating back to the 1970s. Photographers who had captured the perfect shot and never returned home. Musicians who had performed their masterpiece and vanished from the stage. Writers who had penned their greatest work and were never seen again. But the most chilling discovery was in her own psychological profile. Sarah realized she had unconsciously been suppressing her own happiness for 3 years, ever since she had first noticed the correlation. Her subconscious mind had recognized the danger before her conscious mind could process it. She had been living in a state of deliberate emotional numbness to survive. The laboratory's environmental controls began responding to her emotional state. As her understanding of the situation deepened, bringing with it a perverse sense of intellectual satisfaction, the room's temperature continued dropping. The fluorescent lights dimmed. The ventilation system slowed to barely audible whispers. Sarah understood now that she was trapped in a paradox. The only way to escape was to stop feeling any satisfaction about solving the puzzle. But the human mind naturally feels reward when making breakthrough discoveries. Every moment of clarity, every aha moment that brought her closer to understanding her predicament, tightened the invisible bonds holding her in place. She tried forcing herself to feel sad, to focus on tragic memories. But the artificial nature of these emotions offered no protection. The phenomenon seemed to distinguish between genuine emotional states and manufactured ones. Her attempts at forced depression only highlighted her growing awareness of the elegant horror of her situation, which itself became another source of dark fascination. As dawn approached, Sarah made her final log entry. Her voice was steady, clinical, but her words carried the weight of someone who had stared into the abyss of human consciousness and found it staring back. The entity or mechanism responsible for these disappearances appears to feed on the neural patterns of genuine contentment. It has created the perfect evolutionary trap, using our own capacity for happiness as bait. I believe it may be as old as human consciousness itself, explaining why true, lasting happiness has always been so elusive for our species. The recording device clicked off automatically. Sarah felt a moment of professional pride at having documented her discovery so thoroughly. The lights went out completely. In the absolute darkness, she heard something that made her blood freeze. The sound of other voices, dozens of them, all around her. The whispered conversations of people describing their happiest moments, playing on an endless loop. She recognized some of the voices from her research subjects. Sarah realized she wasn't alone in the darkness. She never had been. If this story made you question your own moments of happiness, you're not alone. The psychological horror we've explored tonight touches on something fundamental about human nature, our relationship with joy and contentment. Hit that like button if this story left you unsettled, and subscribe for more psychological horror that will make you question reality itself. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed patterns in your own life that seemed too strange to be coincidence? Share your experiences, but be careful. Some patterns are better left unexplored.